Also, I should say that there are a few factors that tend to affect what type of a compromise that will take place with the person that you're disagreeing with. I'll bring up four big circumstances here. Keep in mind that they're not mutually exclusive and that they can sometimes mix and converge. 1. How much we value the relationship. 2. Supply and demand. 3. Power imbalance. 4. Emotional investment. For many different reasons, one person might value the relationship more than the other. How much two parties value a relationship is often not equal, as sad as that is. Typically, people with a stronger need for maintaining a relationship are more inclined to accept compromises that are less favorable to themselves. This can be seen in negotiation and conflict resolution scenarios, where the less invested party feels less pressure to yield, because the less invested party has less of a cost of walking away. One of the parties is usually willing to sacrifice more to find solutions. Interestingly, this is actually the entire basis for the personality trait agreeableness in the Big Five personality model. Agreeableness is a trait that varies widely all over the population depending on our personality. Interestingly, women score higher in agreeableness than men. And agreeableness is a personality trait referring to individuals that are perceived as kind, sympathetic, cooperative, warm, honest, and considerate. People high in agreeableness, I should say, will prioritize peace and a good relationship over a potential personal gain. And this also makes them worse at negotiating salaries. In this context, with compromises, it tells us that this personality trait can be affected by how our life situation is at that moment. Meaning, we have a biological baseline of how high we score on the personality trait agreeableness, but then that has to be combined with how our life situation looks at that moment in order to predict how agreeable and how likely to compromise you'll be. It doesn't matter what your personality type is. If you have a lot of cookies, then you're more likely to be agreeable and share. Say we have a guy named Albert. You are Albert's only friend, while you have many. The sad reality is that he most likely will value your relationship more than you value it. You have more options, so you'll be less agreeable than you might, and Albert will be more agreeable than he would in another situation. In other words, he is more inclined to accept compromises that are less favorable to him to preserve your relationship. As a simple matter of supply and demand. Which takes me to the next circumstance that can impact a potential compromise: supply and demand. Others are demanding you more than they're demanding Albert. And this is where the whole "you are out of her league" comes from. She's more in demand than you. Supply and demand is one out of many things that can cause a power imbalance. If the company can hire other workers easily, then the company doesn't have much incentive to an even and equal compromise, which is give up part of their demands. And it would be very difficult to change their minds as an employee. An even and equal compromise usually only happens if there's a roughly equal power balance between the two or more parties involved. Pets and young children usually don't have much say since their parents are completely in control of their well-being. A recruit in the military won't have much say over the drill sergeant because of the power imbalance, or a policeman and a citizen, or someone with guns and potential for violence versus someone unarmed. There isn't much room for compromise when someone is robbing you at gunpoint. Note, however, that despite the fact that an even and equal compromise does not take place, an uneven and unequal compromise can still take place for a variety of reasons. Love and emotional investment. Sometimes, as pro-social beings, we want to compromise despite not having to do so because we love the other person and we want to see them prosperous. If you're madly in love or infatuated with someone, it's common occurrence that you compromise in ways you normally wouldn't. Or perhaps we love our dog and our children and compromise despite not having to because we love them. Those are the four circumstances that tend to affect what type of a compromise that will take place with the other person that we're disagreeing with.